Everybody, welcome back to Q-Tips. We are the Video Store Junkies, and we are back once again to bring you a few selections to watch on streaming over the weekend. And we're going to just jump right on into this, and I'm going to throw it over to Paul.
Oh, why? Thank you, Renee. Well, my first pick this week is another one that my mom has recommended to me, and it is The Patient on Hulu. It's a mini series. It's about 10 episodes. They're only about 30 minutes each. Really, I think the whole thing is only about 5 hours. Though I think like the last one goes a little bit longer. Um, and it stars Steve Carell and Domhnall Gleeson. Um, and basically, Domhnall Gleeson is a serial killer, and Steve Carell is his therapist. It's not a comedy. It's a drama slash thriller, um, and though it does have occasionally there's these weird little comedic touches, or at least they would be, but they're not. They're kind of plays. It's I don't know. There's some weird little almost surreal bits in there. But it's really good. It's a good kind of psychological thriller. It deals with Steve Carell's character dealing with the fact that Domhnall Gleeson's a serial killer, the situation that he's put in, his own relationship with his own kids. It's really well worth watching. I really liked it. I actually tend to like Steve Carell when he does drama more than when he does comedy, and he's really strong in this. This is really good. The second one I was gonna recommend was Fox Chaser, which is based on a true crime thing, but that one's not streaming anywhere that I could find, so that'll have to wait. But yeah, this is The Patient on Hulu. I don't really want to say much else. It's really well worth watching. Like I said, I think it's only a total of 5 hours, so um, it's one that you could binge if you really wanted to, or I kind of took my time with it. But speaking of serial killers, I'll pass this to Bill Mulligan.
Why, thank you, sir. Well, my theme for today is films by Brad F. Grinter. You might be saying, Brad F. Grinter? Is he some like unknown diamond in the rough, somebody who deserves, mention because his films were really great but forgotten? Hell no. This guy is to good films what fermented owl poop is to great cuisine. He's terrible, terrible. But his films, he didn't make many of them, but they are memorably terrible. And I'll start with this one, and this is actually kind of sad. It's called Flesh Feast. It's the better made of the two, which is real faint praise. And it's about a ring of Nazis in Florida who have the body of Adolf Hitler, and they plan to revive him and bring him back, but he's looking a little rough for wear. So they find this crazy woman scientist who's perfected a way of using maggots to strip away old flesh and leave healthy new flesh behind. You don't just look young, you feel young. And she's going to revive Der Fuhrer. What they don't know is that secretly she hates the Nazis, especially Adolf Hitler, and those flesh-eating maggots are going to come into play in a way that the Fuhrer did not expect. So, happy ending. The problem is, one, Brad F. Grinter cannot direct a movie. This stuff is like sub-porn value. I don't think he made any porn movies, but that had to have been his ambition. But even the folks who make porn would look at this stuff and say, "Kid, I don't think you have it in you." Somehow he managed to get a genuine movie star to be in this movie. Now, admittedly, it had been many, many, many years since anybody cared about this one, but it's Veronica Lake. And if you don't know Veronica,
Damn.
I know. Well, when you see this movie, you'll be saying, "Damn," because she was hot. She was a sultry movie star. She perfected the peekaboo look where half her face was covered in her hair. She was in was it I Married a Witch, or some movie where she played a witch or something, and it was like the inspiration for Bewitched. She was really something, and a better actress than I think she was given credit for. But she fell on hard times. Clearly, she's got that look of many, many years of alcoholism. Maybe she'd straightened herself up by this point, but the looks had fled. And she's trying. She's really trying in this movie, but everyone else looks like they don't know their lines. And he's one of those directors who would never say cut. Just keep on going and we'll slap it all together. Supposedly this movie sat on the shelf for a couple of years because they realized after they'd done it, They hadn't actually shot any establishing shots or anything other than just nail the camera down and have people walk back and forth. No directing whatsoever. Ending where the guy, and he's one of the worst Hitlers ever, and I do collect them. He's strapped to the table and she's throwing these maggots, and God help me, I think they're really maggots. I don't think they even had the money to substitute rice or something. They got maggots. Where do you get maggots? This was filmed in Florida. So the side of the road, probably eating an armadillo or something. Oh, dude. You think, well, I thought I was going to be an actor. Now I'm playing Hitler. Can it get any worse? Yeah, Hollywood Has-Been is throwing actual maggots on your face. That part's great. This movie's so bad, Tubi doesn't carry it.
Oh, man.
I'm just going to pause for a moment while we let that soak in. But you can see it in all of its glory on YouTube. And there you go. And I will throw this to someone who does not need flesh-eating maggots to keep her youthful looks, and that is Renee.
Well, thank you very, very much. So my first recommendation, I think you guys will know exactly what it is when I do this. Anyone?
Well,
It cut out.
it totally cut
it
out.
cut
So it was like,
out.
okay, I'm going to guess Marcel Marceau in Shanks.
Oh no, I'm so sad it cut out because I feel like I did a really good job.
Oh,
That was my honestly super awesome impression of Kenshiro from Fist of the North Star.
oh, very good. Yes, I get it now.
Yes.
Yay!
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. So this movie, this is the live action version
Oh,
of this
Lord.
movie.
Ooh.
Oh yes. Oh yes. You can find the animated version on YouTube. Incidentally, actually, you have to find both of these movies on YouTube. So it's
Yeah.
a YouTube kind of day.
Yeah.
So this was based on a graphic novel, and then of course the animated movie that they had. This movie, it's not good, but it's kind of great. It's got Malcolm McDowell and Costas Mandylor, I believe. Downtown Julie Brown, which is great because I think last week I recommended a movie with the other Julie Brown, which was a whole thing in my childhood that I had to deal with. 2 Julie Browns. Anyway, Dante Basco, Melvin Van Peebles, not to be confused with Mario Van Peebles. Yeah, and Chris Penn. So,
Oh, wow.
they needed somebody to really balance out Gary Daniels' extraordinary acting ability. Oh, I'm so sorry. He's a martial artist, right? So at least the stunts were good. Like the action scenes and everything were really good. So that I can really give them credit for that. It wasn't like something where you saw the back of some dude's head with a really bad wig, which I don't know why they can't afford better wigs. Like, come on. Anyway, Fist of the North Star. This movie is available on YouTube. And speaking of martial arts sensations, I'm going to pass this over to Zachary.
Oh, Zach's here?
Thank you, Renee. Yeah, I sensed that somewhere someone was talking about Fist of the North Star, but they were talking about the live action film and not the anime. So
Yeah.
it summoned my wrath.
Oh, God.
No, I'm just kidding. No, actually, so yeah, I was late to this recording because I kind of lost track of time. The dog was desperate to be walked, and I had been ignoring her for a little while because I was busy doing my taxes.
Oh, Lord.
And I gotta say, man, when I'm trying to do my taxes and I'm trying to get through the IRS tax code and figure out how to fill out all those forms, I feel a little lost. And in fact, I was so wrapped up in that I forgot to come up with any recommendations. So I'm just going to go with that theme and recommend 2004's hit television series Lost, which is totally
Stop it.
incomprehensible. It makes no sense at all, and it's still more, easier to comprehend than the IRS tax code. No, I actually don't think I've ever recommended this, so I'm going to go ahead and do it because I still think the last, actually, you know what? Watch the first 5 seasons and lament the fact that it was canceled before the 6th and final season aired. I'm just kidding. That didn't
This
happen.
is why I remember that you have recommended this before because I had to make a very specific note. to not watch
Oh.
that season.
Okay, apparently I've forgotten everything today, so
But that's okay. It was probably a long time
It's
ago.
it's advice that bears repeating.
yeah.
That is true.
So yeah, I apologize then. I guess I'm redoing my own
It was almost
recommendations,
2
but
years ago.
oh,
So
well, there you go.
Oh, there you go.
It
Yeah.
definitely bears repeating then. So yeah,
absolutely.
Lost. All 5 seasons of Lost are available on Hulu, and yeah, I don't know. It's it gets a bad rap, but I think it's a fun show, and I think it's got some great performances. So there. And speaking of great performances, I don't actually know who I need to pass this to
Me,
since I came in
Paul.
late, but that applies to everyone. So Paul, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Speaking of the award-winning actor from such films as A Few Brains More, Summer of Blood, let's go over to Paul Cardullo to see what his celebrity recommendation is.
Thanks, Zach. I was actually disappointed when you said that, because you were doing your taxes and they're like, I'm going to recommend. And I was like, oh, he's recommended video games before. I figured you were going to recommend Tax Heaven 3000. Have you guys heard about this? I'm not recommending, I haven't used it, but it's a Japanese style dating sim that does your taxes. Literally. It is literally a tax program. Steam removed it though because it's like, hey, let's share some get to know each other by sharing personal information. What's your social security number? But it's legit. I mean, the people who did it said they want to kind of undermine the big tax company kind of things.
Yeah, good for
But
them.
it only does very simple tax forms. But yeah, you can find it on itch.io, I believe. But that's Tax Heaven 3000. But anyway, that's not what I'm recommending. Speaking of taxes, another thing that goes with taxes is death. And one way to enjoy that is with cannibalism. And so this film has 3 different titles. It's known as Invasion of the Flesh Hunters, Cannibals in the Streets, or Cannibal Apocalypse.
Great
from
titles, everyone.
Yeah, and I believe it was 1980. So it is by director Antonio Margheriti, who's Italian. But it stars it was actually filmed in like Atlanta. Stars John Saxon. And it's such a weird film because especially the trailer kind of sets it up as your typical Italian cannibal film. Or maybe it's like a zombie film, but it's not really. It kind of is also a drama about Vietnam vets with PTSD, but they just happen to also be infected with a virus that makes them cannibals. But the thing is they're sentient. They basically aren't always constantly eating people, though occasionally people who do get bitten by them occasionally do go crazy to bite somebody. But they don't necessarily do that. It's really interesting. And I think John Saxon's performance is really what does it for me. It's almost sympathetic. It's really kind of hard to pin down. It's such an interesting film because, like I said, you've got this mix of this drama with super gory cannibalism, and there's some really great gore shots in this thing. In terms, in line with some of the great Italian gore films. In fact, apparently John Saxon was really pissed off because he said his original script was poorly translated and he didn't realize it was going to be really gory. He was like, "Oh, this is interesting. The virus is a metaphor for the psychological damage these people suffered and all this." And they saw them bringing out a big tray of meat, and he's like, "What's that?" "Well, that's supposed to be body parts."
Yeah, that's the
And
metaphor.
he's like, "Fuck this." Yeah, he almost left the thing, but it actually works out really well in terms of I found it fascinating. Oh, Paul, where the hell's it playing? Good question, buddy. It's playing on Tubi, of course. Freevee, Roku channel, and I saw it on Shout Factory TV. And so that's Cannibal Apocalypse or Cannibals in the Streets. Those, I think it's under those 2 titles, though you can find it under Invasion of the Flesh Hunters on Tubi, Freebie, Roku, and Shout Factory TV. And speaking of Cannibals in the Streets, I'll pass this to my favorite flesh eater, Bill Mulligan.
Oh, thank you so much. Really, there ought to be a law that one film cannot hog up all the great titles. We could have gotten 3 decent movies out of that. All right. So continuing our journey through the world of Brad F. Grinter, buckle up, because my next film is the legendary, the unforgettable, the incomprehensible, the film that when you watch it, you will think that you have stumbled across some weird Mandela effect artifact from another dimension because there's no way this can exist. It's not on Tubi. Oh no, Tubi wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. Tubi! No, it's on YouTube though, because YouTube will show just about anything. It's I believe it's 1972's Blood Freak.
Woo!
Yeah, Blood Freak. And now with a title like that, you know it's good. Now, you try to explain what a movie's about. I'm not even sure what genre this is. It's from the very select genre of Christian anti-drug propaganda films. At about halfway through, realize Gordon Lewis extreme gore with a little bit of nudity. Monster movie. But they couldn't really afford a monster, so the guy has a giant turkey head. Yes, this is the greatest turkey monster movie ever. Yes, Paul, I know about Thanksgiving. I'll stick with my assessment here.
Oh no, I've been trying to get Renee and Shelley to watch this because we never did watch it. Did we, Renee?
Really? Blood Freak?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I've been trying to get them to watch it.
Yeah,
so.
Let me describe this to you. So we open up with the director, Brad Grinter. And he lived to be 70, which I think is the most amazing thing ever, because when you look at this guy, he looks like he's boozed up. He is chain smoking. He looks like the sleaziest guy ever. He looks like the one that some model, some poor girl who needs some money checks out. Ooh, they're looking for models, and she goes into a dingy office, and there's the guy who looks like Brad Grinter, scowling at her, just like. And next thing you know, she's doing orgies and on film, and he's scary. He's reading from his own script, and he's just rambling about the evils of putting bad things into your body while he chain smokes. And you're thinking, well, this is satire. I don't think so. Then this guy who kind of looks like Elvis is riding on his motorcycle, and he's the hero of the movie, and he ends up meeting a Christian girl, but her sister, a loose sister who likes drugs and hippies and everything. She kind of gets her hooks into him and gives him marijuana, and boom, next thing you know, he's hooked, as happens. He also gets a job at a turkey factory. A bunch of scientists are trying to make turkeys grow faster. So to make sure that there's no side effects, they have him eat one. And he goes into convulsions. They figure, oh, we're in trouble. They dump him out of the field, and he wakes up with a turkey head. And he's addicted. Oh, but not to drugs. No. He's addicted to the blood of junkies. So he runs around and kills them. He runs one guy through a buzzsaw, which is great because I think this guy had one leg. So they just cut off his wooden leg, and then he's jumping around screaming. And it's like, wow, that's pretty effective. How'd they pull that off? The same way we did. You find someone with one leg. It's very cost effective. This goes on for a while. All right, now I got to describe. This may have the worst sound of any film I have ever seen. It's so bad. It just every moment calls attention to itself on how bad the sound is. You never see a boom mic come into view, and I'm thinking that's amazing because this Grinter cannot compose a shot to save his life. He's got way too much headroom. There's got to be a boom mic coming in, but it never does. And I guess that's because there was no boom mic. They were using, I don't know, whatever microphone comes with the camera, which always sounds like shit. I don't know. This was shot on film. But boy, is it incompetent. And yet so compelling. I got my finger right hovering over the fast forward button, and yet somehow I can't because I'm afraid I'm going to miss some other gem. Guy who plays the hero. Anyway, so in the end, in the one moment of wit, hippies sneak up behind the giant turkey monster who's now on the ground praying that God will, forgive him and relieve him of this terror. And they chop his head off. And then we cut to a scene of a chicken that's actually had its head chopped off, running around in slow motion. And then we cut to the hippies at a table, and his head is the centerpiece, and they're eating turkey meat.
Oh, God.
And then he wakes up because the whole thing was a dream. Spoiler alert. And and then he gets on his knees and prays with the good girl. And next thing you know, it's a happy ending. And then Grinter comes on again and tries to explain what this movie was all about. And takes another drag on his cigarette, and starts coughing uncontrollably until they finally got. And again, I don't think this was acting at all. I think it was just, unbelievable. This movie, the guy who played the hero, the Elvis-looking guy, was actually, his name was, he went by Steve, what was it? Steve Hawks. And he made a couple of Tarzan movies in Canada or Croatia or something. I don't know. He made like 2 Tarzan movies that were filmed in Rainbow Springs, Florida. So, it really looked like a jungle. And they were tied. He and this actress were tied down and doused with gasoline or something, and then it got set on fire. And this lion that was trained to release them, free the bonds, did it even though it suffered burns on 90% of his body. And he vowed then that he would pay this lion back by creating a sanctuary for big cats. He became Joe Exotic before there was Joe Exotic. And as always happens with these sad stories, he got more and more and more. And there's apparently an awful lot of big cats that need rescue. Until he couldn't, it was way beyond his means. What do you feed these things? Tourists? I don't know. And one of them escaped, and it was a story a few years back. One of his tigers escaped and had to be shot. And it was like, I saw that story. It's like Steve Hawkins. No, the guy from Blood Freak. Jeez. He died a couple years ago at the age of 77. Again, a much more interesting story than any of this. Really, someone should make a movie about this guy. And, include lots of stuff from Blood Freak. So you're probably thinking, there's no way this movie that I just described could be anything else. How ironic is it that a movie that was designed to stop you from drugs desperately makes you want to take drugs while you're watching it? Because it would be so much more enjoyable to watch this movie on something. There you go, Blood Freak. It is exactly as I've described it, only more so. If you don't believe me, check it out on YouTube. And there you go. Renee.
So I thought for a minute that my theme could have been martial arts guys named Ken. But sadly, Street Fighter is not available on streaming. But you can rent it if you want to watch it. I decided to pick an episode that I also had previously, a movie that I also had previously recommended in the past. And this movie is Dead End Drive-In.
Oh.
Yay.
Envision the future. And it's like Mad Max, but a little bit different. They got all the kids, all the riffraff, and all the kids and all the troublemakers. And they kind of like keep them in these like drive-in theaters where, they pretty much just keep them occupied with like iPads and video game. No, wait, I'm sorry. That's today. With drugs and, just all sorts of things just to keep them occupied and keep them from starting too much trouble. But there's a guy named Krabs, and he really wants to get out. And so Krabs and his girlfriend Carmen are going to do all that they can to get out. So that's pretty much the story, and they uncover some mysterious antics that are happening at the drive-in.
Shenanigans.
Yeah, shenanigans. Shenanigans are afoot. So yeah, that's my suggestion. It is Dead End Drive-In. You can watch that on Roku, Hoopla, Plex, or Zachary's favorite streaming service, the Aeroplayer. And speaking of which, I will pass this over to Zachary.
Thank you so much, Renee. So, like I mentioned, I'm just a little overwhelmed right now with tax season. And when I get overwhelmed like that, you gotta sit back and enjoy a nice fun, stupid movie. And boy, I have a stupid one for you today, which I'm surprisingly enough we have not actually recommended. I just looked, and I don't know how we got 3 years without recommending this gem. But no, my movie is about a young man with a dream. He just dreams about being a stuntman, and along with his friends, he is determined to make that dream a reality. That's right. I'm talking about 2007's Hot Rod, starring.
Oh my God!
Thank you, Renee. Obviously, one of us has seen it. No, this movie has Andy Samberg. It's got Bill Hader, Danny McBride, Will Arnett, but most importantly, it's got Sissy Spacek and Ian McShane as his parents. Like this movie has some serious names in it. No, like I said, I mean this is basically a film by the Lonely Island group. I think this was kind of early in their in their like career in terms of like as working as a group. I don't know if they were actually the Lonely Island yet, but either way, hilarious movie, very very stupid. It's just the sort of movie that, yeah, it's not exactly highbrow humor, but there's some very very memorable moments. And if you're if you had a bad day or a rough day at the office, or a rough day doing taxes, and you want to sit down and watch something that's totally mindless, then Hot Rod on Paramount Plus and Pluto TV will do just the trick for you. So that is my final recommendation. And speaking of, well, I don't have anyone to pass it to. I think we're done, right?
Yeah.
We are.
Oh,
We are.
All
Yeah.
right.
Did you want to sing us out with anything, or Paul? Did you have anything?
I'll actually sing us out today.
Sure.
I'm going to do my rendition of the Lost theme song.
Ooh.
Oh God.
But that's it. That's the
I didn't hear a damn thing.
yeah.
It
No,
just-
I'm
it
sure. I'm
cut
sure
out.
Discord didn't pick it up.
I was really like, did the audio cut out again?
Yeah,
God.
probably.
I don't think.
It spares us.
I think the
I heard
AI,
like a-
the AI has taken over and is stopping us from singing. And thank you, computer
Yeah.
overlord.
I was just trying to make the sound that the Lost logo makes. In the
okay.
Lost intro, but yeah. So I'll explain that joke to you, and that way it'll be funny.
It's almost as
It's really sad. It's like the noise suppression is like
Mhm.
decided that we are just noise now.
Mm.
well.
You get it back. The whole episode's empty.
Wow. Bill's rambling again. Insert filter.
For the weekend of March 31st, Bill recommended Flesh Feast, available on YouTube, and Blood Freak, also available on YouTube. Paul recommended The Patient, available on Hulu, and Cannibal Apocalypse, available on Tubi, Roku, Freebie, and Shout Factory TV. I recommended Fist of the North Star, animated and live action, available on YouTube, and Dead End Drive-In, available on Roku, Hoopla, Freevee, and the Arrow Player. Zachary recommended all 5 seasons of Lost, available on Hulu, and Hot Rod, available on Paramount Plus. Where did you say? I'm so sorry. Where did you say Blood Freak was playing? Is that also on YouTube?
YouTube. We take anything.
Beautiful.
And you'd be thinking, boy, this must be a bad copy. No, this is fresh from the camera. This is as good as it ever was. I think they've released it on YouTube, on DVD, but I can't remember. Blu-ray probably, but why? Why would you do that? There's
You can see the grain all the better.
so yeah, every nuance.
Oh my God. I should try to talk Shelly into watching it now. Now that Bill suggests, I'll be like, Shelly, but now there's another suggestion.
Yeah.
But she might be like, wait, Bill?
Hey, Bill?
Hmm.